Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs. Welcome to the Gundam Explained Show. Let's see, it is July 27th, so it's getting to the end of summer, and I kind of can't wait for it to end. Although I don't know about in Texas if it's going to end anytime soon. It's just been so hot. And speaking of hot, Steven's here with us. Hey, Steven, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? I don't know about hot, but I'll take humid maybe.
Oh yeah. Well, no. What's cool though is wow, I'm saying all these puns accidentally. What's cool though is I'll be in North Carolina this weekend. There's a little meetup going on. I think that's gonna be a nice time where we get to like me and you talking in person is gonna be crazy, but to see the other supporters too of both of our channels, which is awesome. It's kind of like a multi-channel meetup, and another cool thing about it is the weather. That's what I'm looking forward to, because here in Texas, it's been in the hundreds. It's going to be in the 70s. It's going to be nice.
Yeah, a little hot flight. You're trying to get away from the heat. I think so. There's the term for New Yorkers that go down to Florida during the winter. They're like snowbirds,
right?
What do you call Texans that go north for the summer?
Yeah, to go north for the summer. That's a good one. I have no idea. I'm gonna have to come up with something.
Yeah, I'm sure someone's got to have something.
Hopefully, if not by the end of the stream next week, I'll have something, because I feel like that right there is testing my improv skills, and I'm trying to be on point with that.
I'm trying to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's. But dude, you're decked out. You got the AE shirt.
Oh yeah,
and that was made by
John
Jocelyn. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and then the hat, rocking the RX-78-2 hat. Can't go wrong there.
I wish that I had a better excuse than just my hair is really greasy today. So I was like, I'm just going to bury it. And
well, speaking of clothing, I've got a little sneak peek here.
That is looking sharp, my friend.
Exclusive merch that will be in North Carolina this weekend. So, look forward to that for whoever's going to be joining us. But yeah, for today's show, we're going to talk some video game stuff, like GBO2's got its anniversary. There's some more Gundam Evolution drama that I want to get into. Also, some awesome Gundam action figures have been announced. I'm really into that. It's not the Gunpla per se. It's, the figures. And the Robot Spirits line, I've been loving that line. And they just announced something that just blew my mind. It's exactly what I want. It tells me they're going in the right direction with the Robot Spirits line and going to do so much cool stuff. And then from your stream yesterday, which was really interesting, because we were talking about like variables used in tabletop games. And by the end of it, we talked about how that should be implemented in video games more. Yeah. Because it really, like, tabletop stats are implemented in video games anyway.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it was definitely that. I love when we get into those kinds of conversations, because we start kind of tying the threads between tabletop and video game. And then most importantly, it's all Gundam related, because these are the types of stats that pop up in GBO2, which, happy birthday GBO2.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing that stuck out to me when you were showing your like enemy generator. I think there was a more specific name for it. Right?
I mean, that's pretty much all it is. Yeah. Okay. Dungeons and Dragons 5e enemy generator. So
okay, because what was cool is you were showing the numbers, which reminds me in GBO2 when I'm looking at the stats. But then you had the other little, I guess, attributes or something, or skills, or some more specific things that reminded me of the skills in GBO2, and that really cemented the fact that, like, not only have video games taken from tabletop RPGs, but that I think they can continue to do so together, and bounce off each other.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I am tempted, in fact, to adopt some of those skills out of GBO2 and pull them into Gundam 5e, for instance, and sort of recycle.
Oh yeah.
A little. Well, there's a Latin term for that, for like a mutual exchange. It'll come to me later.
Is that vis-a-vis? Is it?
I thought that was like an ergo. The only Latin I know is from the second Matrix movie.
Oh. Well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Latin. Yeah, that's crazy stuff there. Like how they name things in Latin. I love it. But Yeah, that's interesting because like with the skills, for instance, there's like maneuver armor. The idea that if the enemy is engaging you in an attack and you shoot at them, they don't get stunned and they can still go. And that seems like something that would be fun to figure out how to have interpreted in a tabletop uh game. So yeah, check out that stream, links in the description for Steven's
After
stuff.
this.
Yeah, after this. But I mean, honestly, by now, well, hey, if there's any new people that have joined that haven't heard of Steven's channel, yeah, links in the description. We get in depth in some cool stuff over there. And a lot of it too is you are covering things that are part of your Patreon too. Like
yeah. So that was, and you know, obviously we're getting towards the end of the month, which means Patreon perks are going out next week. Always good. So
that's awesome. Yeah, speaking of things going out next week, you know, there was the winners of the 4K subscriber giveaway, and I actually haven't sent that stuff out yet. You know, not that I'm being lazy, but it's been a really busy week, so expect that stuff soon. That stuff will get out.
You mean you don't have your own fulfillment center and like a staff?
I know. Yeah, because that's the other thing. Like, I had some shirts made. I tried 3 different methods. One was doing it through my shop. I had a shirt made. Okay. You know, it's sent to me and it's cool. And then I used another company to have shirts made that were sent to me. And then my wife made some. And I gotta say, the shirts my wife made were, if not equal, then better than what I would have got from a shop. And I don't know, though, how long they last. I guess that's the difference, though. Like, the shirts my wife made look fantastic. Like, it literally looks just like this, which is what I ordered from another place. But I wonder, though, with the materials used when you kind of do it from home, I wonder if they break down faster, you know, after washing them.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard that like the DTG printing is, even though it's awesome because you can do some pretty interesting things, like you can print in multiple colors. Like usually with screen printing, you know, you can only do like 1 to 4 colors, and the more colors you do with screen printing, the more complicated it gets, and they can only be solid colors. Whereas with DTG printing, you can have like gradients and things like that. But the inks on those break down, you know, pretty much the first time you wash them. So, I mean, I think that there's probably something to be said about the homemade, the bespoke aspect of it. It's not just, you know, one of these, what do you call them? A print on demand type services.
Exactly. Which I used that and it was a little pricey, but it was because I also wanted to get it quick. And even though it was a little pricey, at the end of the day, it almost added up. If I was to be like, okay, if I bought the shirts, the materials included the labor, and then the shipping, to be honest, it wasn't bad. So,
nice.
But, so this week, Gundam related stuff. I don't know if you have anything else to add other than your 5E enemy generator or general enemy generator in general.
You know, not really. I've been painting my little chunkies, getting ready to work on the diorama with these guys. So,
dude,
you know, and I got a huge thing of resin to do mass 3D prints. I even have some secret 3D print projects.
Oh, yeah.
I can't reveal to you what this is.
There's a recognizable logo there, though, from the back.
You know,
if anyone can recognize it.
No. So yeah, a little spoiler alert for that. But yeah, you know, doing a lot of printing lately, and so hopefully
that's cool.
Hopefully we'll have some cool stuff to look at in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm a fan of those Gundam minifigs. I'm gonna collect them. I am, because speaking of that, you know, you even showed off, I think it was 2 streams ago, where you had like the translucent blue, and it made me want to bust out my translucent blue high new Gundam.
Hey, there you go.
I mean, I would prefer your proportions. That's more my thing, but I don't know what this is. It because it looks like candy? Even though I'm not a sweets guy, there's something about this that I don't know.
Something about the Forbidden Gundam.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, I think when you're a kid, the gumball machines or whatever, getting all those little, I think it's something like that. I don't know.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, but you know, this past week too has been really big for the high new. So we're gonna get into more news about GBO2 here in a second, but the high new came out in GBO2, which is pretty awesome if you think about it. For like how far they go with the way they are able to what's the word, when a video game make all the stats work out.
Oh, like balancing.
Balancing, exactly. For all the balancing they have to do. Thank you for all those different types of mobile suits, depending on era and cost. It's just crazy that they got to the high new. That's why it's like I hope they get to the Penelope Desai Gundam or
Oh yeah,
Desai
for
Gundam.
sure.
There's our resident Greek Gundam professional. He kind of helps me with the correct pronunciations, although he does admit that for most things, there's maybe two ways or more to pronounce it that are considered correct. So I try not to
Sure.
do that. But behind me is the high new real grade. Videos up about that. That was a fun experience. I like building real grades, but it was the first one I built that really felt like I was assembling a premium action figure. So like when I was done, I did not want to panel line it. And maybe I will in the future, but it was just in that moment, like of building it and putting it together and just moving it around and shaking it. It wasn't falling apart. It had good articulation. I was going shoo, 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 and having fun. And I'm just like, man, this, yeah, maybe I'll detail it later, but it felt like having a premium figure where I don't touch it or do anything with it. And
Well, and like you said, even the plastic quality doesn't feel,
yeah,
quite as like brittle as your typical Gunpla
you're exactly
model.
right. I think that's one main part of it. And on top of that, the color separation is on point. So there's so many layers. So it feels even more solid, or feels like there's intentional design detail. Yeah, intentional detail that you wouldn't. But that, hey, I don't want to take away the fact that these things are fun to customize anyway. You know me, I've
It's true.
customized a bunch of Gunpla. But
Well, and like you said on my stream yesterday, is like it would be fun for people who want to paint those individual color separated parts.
yeah,
It'd
a
be
lot
so much
easier.
easier to just, instead of having to do the taping and the masking,
Right.
you just lay the parts out and spray them.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So that's what makes it an awesome kit. And like, I think it retails for 60, but I've seen it on Amazon for like 48. So yeah, it seems like a good value in my opinion. One of the best kits. But I'm curious. Here's something I want to talk about the high new real quick. Is like, I think it's a better design than the new.
I'm
Here's what you
inclined to
think.
agree.
Okay, but
I never liked the new Gundam personally.
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's another thing we kind of have in common. Like it's cool, but it's not like I rated it on my I did the tier list of Amuro's suits and I put it at C.
Right,
Being
and you
like,
got absolutely buried in the comments.
which it's one of those where it's like C isn't bad, but it's not
No.
like super awesome. Although I will say maybe the colors are cooler on the new than the high new. But
There you go.
But I don't mind the high new colors. And then here's I've had this on my desk with me. Like the metal build high new
Whoa.
is just a badass beast. Like
Yeah.
it looks amazing, and it what really helps is that sort of double fin funnel look.
Oh,
That-
yeah, absolutely.
Almost,
But then why is the shield that color? I never understood the
Yeah.
shield.
the shield, like there's an add-on pack I can buy that has the better looking shield, but it's like $200 because it comes with a gun, that hyper mega, and it's
Yeah.
bigger than the high new. But
That's wild.
something I didn't realize until recently when I was like building it and making videos of it is I like how the binders on the back that the fins plug into are similar to the Sotheby's binders that the things come out. So I almost feel like
Yeah.
the high new in the Sotheby is a better match than the high new in the Nightingale, although I don't know too much about the Nightingale. I'll have to build it soon and do a little review, and I just know it's almost like a mobile armor in a way,
Yeah.
because it's so big.
Yeah, it's a pretty chunky one. And so like, to see that in GBO2,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
like
insane.
we've been talking about how it's crazy that people have hacked GBO2, the PC version, and they're playing
Oh, yeah.
as like the Shamblo and stuff. Like, I mean, you won't even have to hack the game to play as the Nightingale, which is about the same size as a Shamblo.
Yeah, Yeah, that's crazy. And so it makes me think they're going to eventually get to that, especially if, and I don't know this, if they do come out with a Penelope, is it going to stay at 700? Are they going to increase the cost? And then if they start having higher cost, then are they going to pull in like the bosses that they already have in the game, which would be awesome.
I mean, I think that if they are going to start doing that, it would be pretty cool to see some asymmetric team battles where
Yes.
maybe you have a team of 4 versus a team of 6, and like one person on the team of 4 gets to use a mobile armor and then have like 3 minion type units.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like games have done that, like the Evil Dead game, Dead by
Hmm.
Daylight, I think it's called, Predator, where they have the asymmetrical gaming anyway. So that would be pretty neat. And even Talos has been telling me that when people play customs and and someone's using a boss, the rest of the players will actually then team up against it, and that's pretty cool to think. Like that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, what if they had series battles where it could be like Zeta, where you can be like all the Zeta people hanging out. I kind of like that thing where it's like themed,
Yeah, yeah, that's always fun. I mean, and we need to get the gang back together and do some more of those themed battles
Yeah, we
because,
should.
like,
That
recreate the Odessa fight and have like three Doms versus 3 Doms and a Gian versus the white
Yeah.
base crew.
No, that's a good idea because we touched on it, and I think we even kind of did it, but we didn't really go all the way. And I think there's opportunity there to do that because that's fun, especially for record it if we have it in spectator mode and someone's recording that too.
Heck
That'd
yeah.
be cool. And that's the thing about GBO. Like, later on I'm going to talk more about what they've been announcing, but I feel like I talk about GBO2 a lot. But I also feel like as someone that loves video games and I like Gundam, GBO2 is like this living encyclopedia I get to use, like, because I get to go in a match. It's like, oh, I want to use this suit, and its skills are based on how it is in the anime, the mangas, whatever. And I feel like that's helping me get more information on GBO2. And I was watching another live stream of something yesterday, and they were talking about like how they can't wait to play the new not front mission. What is it?
Hardcore.
Armored Core. Yeah.
Yeah.
Armored Core 6. And they're like, oh, I can't wait to play a mech game. There's barely any mech games where you can be a mech and, feel like you're in a mech. And I'm in the chat like, hey, GBO2 is free on PC and PlayStation. So much content. It's excellent. And then someone said, yeah, I tried it, but it doesn't, how do they word it? It's like, I tried it, but it's not my play style or something. And I was like, well, one, I get it. Like,
Sure.
it's like when you play GBO2, it can seem like it's a high barrier to entry. And so that made me think about making a video to explain when you play, here are maybe 3 different ways you can approach it so that you can see that at the beginning there is a feel. It's like, use this suit. Like, I feel like maybe someone doesn't like raids, or like, let's say someone does like raids, but they can't play as well with a raid. It's like, well, here's a general that also plays like a raid. That might help someone get more into it. And I think, so yeah, I think I want to make a video to explain that because I think that might help. That I think is what is the barrier. Because if you're trying a certain suit and it's like you're getting hit and stunned and falling and not knowing what to do, sometimes it's like, I don't like this. And
Yeah, and I think one of the big appeals for Armored Core fans, and I can't, this is pure speculation because I've never played Armored Core myself, but the customization aspect is something that's very, it's very appealing about that series.
Yeah.
You can custom tailor a mech to be your perfect play style,
Mhm.
and yeah, GBO2 doesn't really allow you to do that, but you do have that sort of flexibility where it's like, like you said, if you're maybe wanting to play as a goof, or maybe you want to play as the goof custom, but you're not really comfortable playing raids, then like try the Vish Donahue goof, which is a general type, but still has that goofy look, right?
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up because it's almost like you want to use a certain suit, but you might not have fun with it. And then you might,
Right.
But that's the good thing about GBO2 because I've learned to love suits like the Pale Riders from playing as them, being like, wow, I actually like how this plays. Man, this suit is awesome. Let me look it up. Oh, that's awesome.
And typically, I don't like playing as raids, but man, when I played as the Gap Lance for the first time, oh
Oh,
man,
cool. Yeah.
that is, I fell in love with that.
That
And then of course now they just buffed it with the with more mobile armor form weapons. So
oh, that's okay, that's cool. Yeah, see, that's the other thing. It's like sometimes the class it is doesn't necessarily means it completely plays like that, and you can kind of play a little differently. And I do enjoy that. And I
mhm.
know Talos is working on a spreadsheet, and I got to get with him to be like, let's create like a cross class sort of database where if someone likes generals that play like a support or supports that play like generals, here is, what you should use. And yeah, that's good stuff. So, talking a little bit more about video games, and the reason, I in the title I put like GBO2 not canceled. It almost sounds bad, but it's like, because Evolution got canceled, and here we go with GBO2 getting not only a 5-year anniversary, but they still plan to support the game at least for another 2 years, because at one point, I think after the 3 years, they realized they had 5 more years or something. I forget what or
Which
4
is
more years. I
crazy if you
forget.
think about like the way that they drop new suits every week. That means that like that they have at least 104 new suits that they want to drop over the
I
over the course
know.
the lifetime of the game.
Again,
I'm like,
that's
I don't
why
even know where they come from.
yeah, and that's why this game's a good like encyclopedia for people that want to get into Gundam or Gundam UC, is you can learn about all the different suits in the lore. So, but with Gundam Evolution, it's interesting is I've noticed, there's been a lot of drama since they've announced that it's getting canceled, and I don't know, canceled I guess is the word, but it'll be shut down by the end of the year.
Right. No longer supported, I guess.
Yeah.
Sunset, whatever your preferred terminology is.
Right. And the one thing from interesting things happen across different Discord servers. One in my server, someone I guess was so upset about it that they started talking bad about GBO2, which is one of those classic signs of like an emotional distress that you don't know how to handle. So then you try to point your finger somewhere else is almost like blaming. And I felt bad for this person because I unfortunately came in with the logical standpoint of they would say, I can't believe Gundam Evolution got canceled or is getting canceled when GBO2 is blah and blah. And then I would come in and be like, well, no, technically, blah, blah. And then all I'm doing is I'm trying to fight their emotion with logic. And
that was your first mistake.
Yeah. and it reminds me of sometimes, with kids or with my wife, or even me, I do this too. It's like sometimes you have to just kind of be, show a little more sympathy for how they feel and not really try to like kill them with logic. And that kind of reminded me, I think that's kind of the main culprit of the issues with social media and conversing with people online, is that someone is saying something based on emotion and you don't get that because it's typing. You're reading text. True. And then that it kind of made me think, I should show more sympathy for people when they do complain about, a game, like try to blame something else for Evolution, try to blame Bandai for Evolution.
Well, it's so fascinating. I love I like to call it the app formerly known as the Bird app. But 2 years ago, everybody became an amateur epidemiologist. And I guess last year, everybody became an amateur geopoliticist. Well, now, whenever they announce that a video game is going away or that, a video game's getting canceled, everybody becomes a game developer and publisher. And they all, the opinions are just so expert and so well crafted. I'm like, man,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Where's your multi-million-dollar company? Because I swear you know more about video games than anyone who's ever touched a game engine.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And looking in the chat, unfortunately, I think someone knows who I'm talking about, and I mean no disrespect. It's I thought that was a learning experience for me too, because I saw that they were emotional. They were wanting to speak down about something else that's not related to it. And I came in with logic. Shirt Lad came in with some good logic. Talos came in with logic, and I was like, that's not what this person needed right now. This person needed someone to sympathize with them, to not engage.
Hey, we grieve with those who grieve.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I don't care about the Evolution game, but I do in terms of it being part of the Gundam, zeitgeist. Like, Yeah.
whatever the.
And so then there is another server I'm on, and this one's a private one, but they started posting Reddit threads of people saying, "Hey, how can we make this game survive? What can we do?" And they would like trash on these people, like, what are they wasting their time doing this for? And I'm just kind of like, well, let them. They're passionate about it. You know, I think
Yeah.
taking the time to talk down to people that are excited about something is like very hypocritical.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, I think that you bring up a good point in both of these experiences. Is
Yeah.
that really people should focus on the positive aspect of what they're trying to do?
Yeah.
You know, to these Redditors that are trying to save Gundam Evolution, they might not save Gundam Evolution in the way that they're thinking, like, oh, we're going to convince Bandai that there's this fan base there that there isn't. But like what we talked about on your show last week, you know, there's these abandonware games that fans have been so enthusiastic about that they will create private servers and that they
Yep.
will continue to host and support these games even after the publisher has given up on them. I don't see a problem with that. And if that's the route that these people want to go to save that game, go for it. You know, absolutely. I am
Yeah.
all for it.
I know, game
But
preservation.
yeah, game
As-
preservation.
yeah.
You know, hey, stick to physical media because, like, obviously the digital stuff can go away tomorrow. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that you can grieve Gundam Evo without bashing GBO2, and you can support Gundam Evo without
Bashing those that are that. It's almost like you're coming in with a logic again, being like, well, technically you won't be able to save Gundam Evolution, and it's like, let them be passionate about it.
yeah.
And so that's what was interesting about this, because then in this private server I was in, they were saying, because you wouldn't be allowed to do that, it's illegal. But technically it's not. And I cited a document from the Library of Congress that says any game that gets shut down has the right to be up if someone can get it running without monetizing from it. Or if for the original IP holder, if it somehow affects them monetarily and they can bring that forth. That happened with the Disney Toontown. So this goes back into our game preservation discussion we've been having, where they changed the characters to not be Disney characters.
Right.
But it still exists. And then in that same chat, someone's like, well, SMT Online, Shin Megami Tensei, I think, I'm not familiar with it. They're like, well, they got sued for that. The people that, and it's actually, well, technically they were charging people to use the servers. And so that's why that happened. But you can still
Right.
play the game on Russian servers. And they were like, well, those are shady servers. It's like, no, that might be the news telling you Russia's shady, but their servers, just like any other, just have good protection. You know, just watch what you're clicking. Yeah.
Ultimately, the server itself can't be shady because it's just a storage device. Like, you know,
And,
you
yeah,
might
and that's
not
the
agree
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you might not agree with the people that are hosting it, but you know, then host your own. It's not
Exactly. And so and then
yeah,
I was bringing up like a bunch of other examples of games where they were saying this game got shut down. I was like, yeah, and you can still play it. This game, you can still play it. If the community is passionate enough and big enough, they can get an old game to play. And if you're not infringing on monetary gain or copyright in a certain aspect, it will work. Now, if the game doesn't get brought back, it just means there wasn't a large enough following that happened to have a bunch of badass developers as part of it.
Yeah, right. But you know, considering how Gundam fans continue to insist that developers are lazy, you know, I can only assume that there are a strong contingent of game developers in the Gundam community that would happily redesign Gundam Evo.
Oh yeah, and then come up with their own skins or whatever, or suits or whatever. I don't know.
But you can't charge for the skins.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. At the end of the day,
No
yeah, they wouldn't be able to charge for
microtransactions. Which honestly, you know, now that we're talking about it, like that could actually improve Gundam Evolution, is the fact that you're kind of removing the monetization model that makes it kind of not fun.
Yeah, which could have led to its demise. You know, we don't know exactly, but and so let me then, I'm going to do a screen share here real quick. So there was a few things I was looking at. So again, the Gundam Evolution petitions don't always work, but sometimes they do. One was, I think, in this, I forget what, yeah, SimCity. SimCity had this online only aspect. People didn't like it, so they put a petition up to get that removed. EA listened. Um, Grand Theft Auto 5, there was a petition to bring that to PC, although that could have already been planned anyway, but then eventually it
Right.
came out on PC. And I also think that was kind of planned because Rockstar's in an interesting position where they can sell a game twice, three times, so they know people are going to buy it again.
Right.
Instead of doing the multi-platform release, they stagger the platforms in order to get people to buy them again. Which,
And you know what? Ultimately, what works better than a petition is just buying the thing. You know,
yeah, yeah,
like ultimately, companies will listen to your wallet more than they listen to your mouth because they know that, you know,
that's
if
right.
you're willing to sacrifice something for something that you're passionate about, then
Yeah, even in Germany, there was something that's not related directly to a game itself, but they were going to ban violent games, and there's enough people that petitioned against that they listened, and they're like, okay, we'll just look at how we try to stop minors from getting a hold of violent games, which is the better approach, the nuanced
yeah,
approach. Um, so it's just very interesting how when it comes to Gundam Evolution, the drama to me, I think the takeaways I'm trying to get from this is let people enjoy what they want to enjoy and don't crap on things that people are enjoying. If I'm enjoying GBO2, don't crap on it because Gundam Evolution got canceled. If someone wants a petition for Gundam Evolution or wants to try to get it to run on their own, I think let them. That's good for game preservation for everyone in the long run.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, that really has been the theme of Gundam this year, right? It's like same
yeah,
thing with like Witch from Mercury, for Witch from Mercury fans, you can enjoy G-Witch without shitting on 45 years of Gundam animation that came before it.
that's right.
And by the same token, for guys like me that are Zeta fans, it's like, you know what? You can watch G-Witch. I've got my Zeta Blu-rays. I'm not, it's not for me, but I don't there's this strange compulsion that human beings have where we want everyone to be the same, and but we don't want them to be the same as someone else. We want them to be the same as us.
It's like a survival thing. It's like a group thing, and I think that's kind of ingrained in our subconscious of how we survive. It's like if as long as we're
Yeah.
together, we're surviving. But since we're in an age where that's not 100% necessary, like physically, like at any moment, oh, I need to be with my tribe. We still have those tribal tendencies. And I think,
Mhm.
yeah, again, like you said, this year has been a good example of being able to reflect on that and maybe change. And I have had to do this too, kind of change my approach to how I communicate with people about that. And that's opened my eyes too. Like the new, our new social media intern here or social media specialist really here on the Gundam Explained side, way more open-minded about exploring and discussing with people with Gundam, and that's opened my eyes too on all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping it gets me to like when I want to talk about something I don't like, to come from a place where I'm less bashing it and more doing a critical analysis,
There you go.
because I don't want to not talk bad about something, but I want to do it in a way that
Is constructive.
yeah exactly in
Contributes to the conversation in a way that's see. It's funny because you are the Amuro Ray to my Shar Aznable. Is you are too patient with these people. I just want to drop an asteroid on Earth so that we can all become new types and understand one another.
Yeah, no, I think the asteroids that have dropped on me that taught me that are my kids. Like they're at an age now where I've learned like more about how I need to be, and even my own mental health online. The more I get into this channel is growing, the more there's online communication everywhere.
That's true.
So
That's
anyway,
very true.
that's it with Gundam Evolution. At the end of the day, I hope it continues somehow.
Yeah, I mean it'll continue to live on in the hearts and minds, and until then, like Bill and Ted say, be excellent to each other.
Yeah. Okay, that was a good one. That was a good one to end on. Moving on real quick before we get to our next main topic. I want to bring up Sig New York is doing this plastic model building community meetup in New York on Saturday, August 12th from 12 to 5. It's pretty cool. Free admission, all ages welcome. That's just an awesome opportunity if you're out there to meet up. Again, community. You know, what's the good word for community? Friends, friends hanging out or something.
Friendship.
Yeah, friendship of doing some Gundam building, meeting some other people. So yeah, Sig New York will be out there. You can follow them on Twitter, and I think I have links to Sig New York in the they're a sponsor of this channel, so you can check them out in the links below.
Yeah, good bunch of guys, a lot of some talented Gunpla builders in that group. So.
Oh yeah, they're keeping the friendly dream alive.
That's right.
Okay. Moving on to something else here real quick is, I'm big in the Robot Spirits line. Again, it's not building, and I wonder how blasphemous it is to be into Gundam collecting the figures but not build them. They're different.
Honestly,
hobbies.
I think that's probably closer to Tomino's vision of a Gundam fan, since Yoshiyuki Tomino can't stand Gunpla builders and hates the Gunpla fandom. I think that the Robot Spirits is the way to go if you want to be a true Tomino.
Well, it's interesting though that you bring that up, because when I'm buying a Robot Spirits figure, it's like, oh, I love this representation, this design of this mobile suit. A lot of time with Gunpla building, that's like a completely different hobby. That's super, super creative, artistic people that want to construct something, and they sometimes don't care what it is. They're just like, okay, this is a badass robot I can build. And it's neat that there's that crossover. Like, I like to build things, but I'm more building Gundam because I like the Gundam designs. I get into the lore and I want representation of that lore. So I think it's neat how there really are these different camps, and they do collide too. Especially
it's like
a lot
the
of
two sides of the Warhammer, hobby is where, you've got the war gamers and you've got the painters, and there's some bleed over there, but
that's a neat
typically
example.
People will fall into one of those two categories.
Yeah, that's a neat example. And so that is the thing with these Robot Spirits is, for me, these are like the most accurate they've been able to get, as an action figure, because I've collected action figures in the past. And what's cool about them coming out with this Blue Destiny line is now this is getting to some very interesting action figures based on the video games. And, so they've covered a lot of the anime. We recently got 08 MS Team finished, and those introduced the ground Gundams. They've done an excellent job of them. They're called Ver Anime because they look just like they do in the anime. So seeing that they're doing the Blue Destiny is awesome because, again, there's a manga, but video game. And if we look at this, if I'm not mistaken, this is the video game version and not the manga version. I think the manga version has like that different antenna on its head.
Slightly different face shape.
And so I hope this leads to other Gundam video games. Like, I know they already have the White Dingo GM Sniper 2. What if they come out with the GM? The Pale Riders, so from Missing Link. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Because they've now got to the point where the bodies do exist. Like, I have an old GM Sniper 2, but Tom, another one of our supporters, told me that they did make a new GM Sniper 2, which is the same body as a Pale Rider. So since they have a new one in the new construction, that could be some Pale Rider ones coming out.
And that could be part of the bleed over, like you said, since they just wrapped up 8th MS Team, they have more of these ground Gundam molds that they can just tweak ever so slightly to fit the Blue Destiny.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, we've got the BD1 and then the Ifrit, and awesome shots here though, and it has. See, this is cool because it has the different visors to put in, for the exam system or not.
Very cool.
And I think, and I don't know if it's on this page. Wow, I love the effect parts on the chest, but there's also the Ifrit, and so this could then lead to coming out with like the Blue Destiny Unit 2, Unit 3, which would then again just be the same molds.
Hey, I'm hoping for an Ifrit Noct, maybe a Gundam 7th, some of those 0081 units.
Yeah, that's a good call on that too. I wonder if they would like if there's any particular order they're going to go in when they come out with these other figures, because then 0081 timeline wise would be soon. Yeah, I don't know
Hmm.
that. But it's interesting because I just recently built the Blue Destiny in high grade, and it's funny. It looks like exactly the same. So I would love to do a side by side comparison. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
definitely. I do. I think you and I have talked about this. At least with the UC suits, there seems to be sort of a convergence going on between the robot spirits and the high grade kits. Like they seem to look closer and closer to
yeah.
each other. Not so with the AU suits, like you said with the Gundam Aerial. The robot
Oh
spirits
yeah,
almost
that's
looks
right.
like a completely different design. It's like the same but different.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. It's weird that the aerials like that, but with some of these others, they've kept it pretty close. Um, yeah, I even have the ground Gundam high grade. There's some slight variations, but you wouldn't notice it right off the bat. I'm trying to think of some other ones that I've gotten recently, but yeah, I think like I want to see there was another one. Yeah, I can't think of it, but there are a few that have been like that recently. I think GPO series might also be one. But anyway, yeah, looking forward to that when it releases. I think it's gonna be like January, I think, but just something else to
And so that
pre-order.
is one that you're going to pick up is the Blue Destiny.
Yeah,
Or
I'll get them both, the Blue Destiny and the Afreet. But I don't wonder if on this website they happen to have um oh, here we go.
yeah, there it is. Now those are some sweet effect parts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at this. I even built the model kit of this, and it looks very similar, actually, but without the color correcting stickers, it looks better with the factory paint.
Definitely.
And yeah, this thing looks great. Yeah,
and
there's
and the
effect.
posability on this is way better than the high grade.
That's another good point. The posability is a
Xeon
lot better
suits
because you don't have
always
to worry
have
about.
like that janky skirt that
Yeah,
kind of inhibits leg motion.
right. And then something popping off
Yeah,
as you're moving it. Yeah, the flames on it look sick. Like, look at that.
that is sweet.
And man, yeah, I'm super gonna want to get these. They're getting a little pricier, but they're still under 100. But speaking of that, on P Bandai they have um the Nightingale, a new Nightingale. It's like a special coating version, so it looks metallic, has real time markings. It's like
It's a beast.
330 or something. Like, I want that, but I don't know if I could drop that. It's funny because then I think
Yeah.
sometimes like I want to buy a new camera, another camera to use, a DSLR, and that could be anywhere depending on what you get, 700 to 1,000. And it's like that's just like a couple high end robot spirits action figures, and it's like, what would I rather have? That's it's very interesting to be in that dilemma.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right,
At
yeah.
least you're not choosing between that and like food.
Oh yeah, that's yeah, that is exactly right. But yeah, because that's the other part. It's like I have a budget for fun,
Yeah.
and it's like, what is more fun, an action figure or the camera? And it's like, even if I want to get one of them, it's like, well, this might be a couple months worth of budget, and
Yeah.
and then it, and
But Adam, if you get the camera and not the figure, then what are you going to take pictures of?
see, there you go. I'm glad I told you about this. All right. And then yeah, let's get into some GBO2 stuff. Yeah, because it's the 5-year anniversary, which is really cool that
Yeah.
the game has lasted that long. And I remember back when I first played it, it was right when I got into Gundam actually, and I downloaded it, from the Southeast Asia servers.
Yep.
Play it, not knowing what the heck I was doing. So they have PvP or PvE missions in it, and this one has the Elmeth, which is awesome.
That is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I can't wait to play against that. They have a mission where you can play as the Hainu, just in case you didn't get it. And
I love when they do that, when they do open up the simulator so that you can, test run suits that you don't have.
Yeah.
I wish that they would kind of cycle those a little bit more frequently.
Yeah, that is a good point. Or just have it set up where you can choose any suit. But it's not like can
You
use it.
don't get to keep it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you can use it in the main game and get tokens from it, but at least like you can sit and play with it. And what's cool too is, so I had saved up my tokens on PlayStation for a while, and I had enough to do. So there's 7 steps for the high new, and you can get it at any step, but it's guaranteed by the 7th. I was able to use all of my, because they give you tokens too for this anniversary special. I used up all my tokens to the 6th step. Didn't get it. I got some badass stuff though. I got a Banshee, which is awesome. So what I'm gonna do is, I was like, okay, well maybe this is an example of me spending money on this game, because I generally don't. And so my thought process was, I'm usually buying a new game. I should word it as, I haven't bought a game in a while. I would normally buy games pretty often, like at least once a month, if not more. And I haven't bought a game in a while. I'm like, you know what? I can justify, how much are the tokens? And while they're kind of pricey, they are doing a special where, like, for $30, for instance, you can get 60 tokens. That's 2 pulls. That guarantees me a high new plus another pull. So it's one of those things with GBO2 and gaming in general. I'm not big, and I'm not a big fan of buying currency to do the gotcha stuff in games. Like, as much as I love GBO2, that's one aspect I don't like. And luckily, it's not intrusive. I can get a lot of value out of the game without doing it.
Yeah.
But I think I justified doing it this weekend. I think I'm gonna do that.
Well, it's not to veer off into like marketing talk, but it's one of those things where when you talk about like the vicious pricing model versus the virtuous pricing model, the idea is, if you're in marketing, you're selling a product and you sell something for, super cheap, what you're basically telling the customer is that you don't have to invest much time into this. You're telling them that it's not worth it, right? And so for a game like GBO2, which as much as I love it, it is one of those freemium, pay at what you want type games.
Yeah.
When you give something away like that for free, you're basically kind of telling the players, well, you don't have to play it if you don't want to.
Yeah.
One of the things that's like, okay, well, did I want to pay $70 for Tears of the Kingdom? Not very much. I would have preferred 60, maybe even 50. But
yeah,
the point is, I did pay $70 for Tears of the Kingdom. It was a little bit less because I had some like Nintendo coins that knocked the price down a little bit. But
that's neat.
The point is, I am investing so much more time in it because I had to make that contribution to play it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where the psychology of pricing models and things like that come into play, and I think that sooner or later game developers are going to learn that if you price things more expensively, then people will feel more connected to them. They'll feel more invested in them, quite literally, like where they're investing their currency into it. They're investing their time. So I will play this game to get the most out of it. And I feel like that's going to be the same for you, is like, as someone who doesn't put a lot of money into GBO2, you are going to make an investment to get this high new, and therefore you are going to play the game more in order to get your money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
For the people that, play it 2 times and hate it, that's, you got what you paid for.
Yeah. And you know what? You bring up a good point, because I enjoy playing it so much that I had enough tokens to pretty much complete that banner anyway, the steps of the banner. Now I'm just on the last one. So that's like, when at my age now, I'm really conscious about my purchasing. And so I'm able to look at all the variables and be like, well, because of this, and this, and this, you know what? I'm going to put some money into it. I am.
Yeah.
And another thing too is, and I think they might have it down here on this page. I don't know. I haven't looked at everything, but they're also selling I don't know. They have a bunch of discounts in the tokens you can get, and one of them comes with a suit called the GM Raid. So that's also something else if you want to get a suit. Yeah, exactly. Happens to be general. That's something else if you want to get a suit, along with the tokens. And so there's another survival map, Demon of the Desert, which is badass. So a bunch of treats to do survival with. Yeah, and the boss, Ghost of Solomon. That's awesome. And then it's so crazy. Like there's so much stuff in GBO2 where it's like as much as I love the game and I'm really into it, I am not like the pro GBO2 dude. Like that's what I use Talus for because like there's so many little nuances. So like here's the adjustments that were made, and then they have information on that. And sometimes old suits get adjustments or new skills. And then
It's true.
let's see. Well, option menu, BGM customizing function has been added. Oh,
That's very cool.
that's neat. So that I didn't even know about until I just read it here live with everyone. But that's just another thing. Like this game, they just keep adding stuff to it, and it's just amazing. It is to me. It's amazing that they do. It's like I almost feel like even in the West, I don't see any examples of games that just get so much valuable content that you can kind of get for free. I think Fortnite does a pretty good job of that, but a lot of times you'll maximize it by buying the battle pass, which that's even a pretty good value. I forget if the battle pass is like 10 or 12 a month or no, a
Yeah.
season. I'm sorry, it's a season, which could be
Right.
a few months. But yeah, then it has all the things you unlock, and apparently you can get enough V-Bucks, yeah, that's what it's called, in a battle pass to then pay for the next one. So it's in then it makes me think how on one hand it's kind of sad because what they're doing is it's a very logical system that really feeds on the illogical. Like oh, but if I just spend this, I'll get all this right now, or and hey, to some people that makes them happy. To some people, they're spending their money on that instead of maybe someone that spends money on like updating their car or an old muscle car or something. So
It's true.
yeah, I don't want to knock on it. Yeah. Oh, it's interesting too. The High New gets a ink spot camouflage, which is interesting because that's like the one I don't like.
Yeah.
But it's just cool that that's an option for people that want that.
Yeah. If you want that rhino skin look.
Yeah, and if people haven't been playing it that much, you can actually log in right now and get a whole bunch of free suits, and it's a lot of Zeta suits also. So like Cublé, the O, the Zeta, some other suits. So I think it's a good time to get into it if you haven't, especially knowing how much they support the game.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much more content now recently, thanks to, folks like you, folks like Talos. I think, Seiji probably dropped a few videos as well, just those kind of intro, how to get over the hump of that high barrier to entry. Yeah. I don't want to say high barrier to entry, but the learning curve that is GBO2.
Yeah, no, exactly. And another thing, I kind of have struggles with it because as much as I like GBO2, I personally don't want to make this a GBO2 channel.
No.
For me, like video games complement the world, the whole Gundam world. And so, and even my GBO2 videos don't do nearly as good as my other videos, but I still enjoy making them. So every once in a while, if I'm happy about something GBO2 related, I'm going to push it. But the favorite stuff for me is like lore stuff, and those do really well, and I like that because I feel like it's just a discussion on interesting lore, of the Gundam world. So,
yeah. And see, you can always start incorporating some GBO2 footage into your lore videos. Like, hey, I'm
that what? That's not a bad idea. In fact, I did that for the High New one. I took some of the, that is a good idea. I'll have to see, and I don't know if this is possible, a way to like, if I went into training or something or custom and turn off the HUD, I would love to be able to do that so I can get some like clean footage where I can make it like my own. I'm sure there's a way to do that on PC.
Yeah, cool. Because I was doing that with like the dissecting Gundam videos, as in order to skirt the copyright strikes of showing animation directly from the show. It's like, well, I'll show clips from Dynasty Warriors Gundam.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good point on that. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think that's it for this episode. It was kind of game heavy, but you know that's what's going on right now
I
in the
mean,
world of
it's
Gundam.
the anniversary. There's really not a
Yeah,
whole lot of other news in the Gundam verse outside of
yeah.
GBO2 celebration. So
I'm thinking this fall though, there's gonna be some crazy stuff. We're probably gonna get more information on Requiem for Vengeance, the meta build verse thing series that's coming out. And yeah, I'll
yeah,
have fun talking about that stuff. But yeah, again, Hatter and I will be out in North Carolina around GalaxyCon. So if you want to meet up, let us know. I don't know if we'll really be there, really, but just in the area.
yeah.
And what else is going on? I think that's really about it. Hatter, anything else to bring up?
No, no, that's the most exciting thing that I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well,
We'll do
cool.
some
So,
people watching outside of the con, see what
yeah.
the cosplay situation looks like.
Yeah, see, I was thinking, depending on time, I might do that, where I go out there. My wife is coming too, so she can film me, and I can just like interview people, try to make it funny. I like doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Um, but anyway, yeah, thanks for everyone that's joined. Subscribe if you haven't. That helps me out. Also, this is a podcast on all the podcast channels, so there's that if you want that too. Check the links in the description for Hatter's channel, for all the other supporters stuff. Some of the other
Hey,
supporters,
thank you.
depending on their tier, can share their links. Oh, yeah, so
Sweet.
all right. Well, thanks everyone. We will talk later.
Thanks.